What's up, YouTube? So this is in the What If. Whitney Houston and Will Smith were originally supposed to do a movie called Anything for Love back in '98, but it didn't materialize. Wonder what if. Sometimes I'm going to do these potential what ifs, and I'm going to go into different segments about what it may have been like, what it could have been. At that time, back in '98, Will Smith was hotter than an egg on the sidewalk in the summertime in the South. You know, you've been down south with a hot egg, it can pretty much cook itself at 6, 7 in the morning. You know what I'm talking about. Because at that time, he was becoming a box office king with clout. He was everything he was touching. It's MIBs, and his music career was on fire. Whitney had released her fourth studio album, and she was on that, still doing well. She had done her movies and soundtracks coming off the Preacher's Wife, you know. So she had done quite well for herself. So this would have been a real interesting event if these two had have made it happen together. Do I think it would have worked? I think it could have. I mean, I don't know though if she would have had a male character though that would have rivaled Kevin Costner though. When I watched the movies, she and Courtney Vance were cool. She and Denzel had some chemistry in The Preacher's Wife, but it wasn't, nothing was like blowing off the lid on the screen. And then, of course, Waiting to Exhale. And then, see, I can't remember who the love interest was because it wasn't that distinctive. But at this time, when you're in a movie with Will Smith, it would have been interesting, but it may have been awkward. It's kind of hard to put it into words, but it's one of those kind of things you just, I don't know. And then to go upon further review, so he came up with that corny Wild Wild West movie, which did marginal. That's when he was putting out everything. But it's hard to say if this one would have worked though. It really is. It's hard to say based on chemistry and vibe, you know. In theory, you like to think because of the names involved, but the movie would have to really be something that would not be so far fetched that it would actually have some legs to it. And I don't know. I can't say. I can't say, you know. Um, a lot of his movies he kind of just went through the motions with. Now in the '90s, he did all those superhero movies and Persona. There wasn't a lot of what I'd call really down to earth in his movies, aside from probably 6 Degrees Separation. That's probably as earthy of a movie he did. But the other ones in the 2000s, that's when he started to get more into depth into his character, you know. And Whitney's movies were more based around music related, pretty much capitalizing who she was. And, it kind of went aside from Waiting to Exhale, but pretty much was pretty simple. So you really didn't get a totality to see. So romantic comedy with these two, it depends on how it's done. Depends on, there's a lot of factors that have to kind of spring into motion. So, you can look at it and think the names sell the movies, but was it going to be worth the content of the movies? That is the big question. And that's something that we'll never know. So this is one of those never was, you know. And I like to venture into those sometimes because then it kind of makes you look at the participants and say, could that thing have worked or was it just kind of hokey? So I think this may have been kind of hokey because I don't know how they could have really channeled it. The humor would have had to been something else, and it would have been a little bit different than what you expect. So, anyway, the movie that never was, Will Smith and Whitney Houston. But let me know what you think in the comment sections. And would you wanted to have this movie back then, or do you think it's best that that never happened with the two? Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like, and hit that membership. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free, and my peace.